Thank you.
You said got right to it. I wasn't waiting.
There you go.
Where are you? On camp?
Aaron made a Shalom Shachar made a Pidgin Ben.
Oh, that was tonight.
So another trip to Lakewood. So I'm on the way back.
You got to start zooming for these things.
Zooming what?
Being at the party. Have someone walk around with an iPad.
Yeah. Yeah, listen. As long as it's parties, that's the main thing.
Yeah. It's a show.
Okay. So we're on the bottom of Yutes Amud Beis. And basically what we're talking about, the Gemara digressed to discuss Tumah and Tara being blocked. Right? Meaning when we've said you can have a hospital and you want to be able, can a client go into a hospital? Right? So it depends on how if the tumah is being blocked or not. So if there's an opening of a tefach from one room to another room, then the tumah goes. But if it's blocked, then it's not. So then we said that if there's an opening, but it's full with food, so the assumption is that the food will be taken from there, depending on what type of food. And since it'll be taken from there, even though it's stuffing up the hole right at that point, it's still going to be a problem because the assumption is it's going to be removed. So we said a case where the straw is inside a utensil, right? Oh, perfect. There we go. You see this? Right? So now you had this utensil here full of straw. So the Mishnah says that if this utensil, the straw is inside utensil, this is about a tefach actually, a little smaller, and it's blocking the opening between one room and another room. So then we said it depends on if the straw will stay in there without the utensil, right? So Gemara is going to ask now, there's a din, if this is made out of earthenware. So earthenware only becomes tameh when the tumah goes inside of it. If the tumah touches the outside of an earthenware, touching maybe not, but if the oil, if the tumah is coming this way, then it doesn't become tameh. It only becomes tameh through the inside. So now the Gemara is going to ask, doesn't it depend on which way the utensil was facing, right? Meaning if the mace is in the room, in this room right here, right, and this is the thing blocking the tumah, so then that's fine because, like we said, something that can't become tameh blocks tumah, right? But if you turn it around and it was this way, so now this thing becomes tameh, this utensil. So then it's not going to block. Right? Again, we said anything that becomes tameh does not make a separation from one tumah to another tumah. So then, again, if it's this way, so then it's going to become tameh and it won't block. But if it's this way, then it will block. There we go. Okay, so that's the bottom line on utensil base. So hi chavis, hey chidami. What's the case of chavis? Ita puma levar. If the mouth of it is towards the outside, like we said, right? The mouth meaning this part. On Tamid Aleph now. He gufa techutz. So then the barrel or whatever, the jug, the utensil, it itself should make a chatzitza. Because the kli cheres does not become tummy from its back. Right? Ella the puma lagav, so must be, the Gemara says the mouth must be towards the inside, that's why it became tummy. The puma lavar, or we're going to say that the mouth is towards the outside. It's talking about a metal, right? We were assuming that the chav is that the barrel is made out of earthenware. So earthenware has this unique din that it can only become tummy from within the utensil, not on the outside, right? But now it's say we're talking about metal. So metal utensils can become tummy all the way around. Fine. So now the Gemara is I don't remember a Gemara like this. It's very interesting. It brings a brisa about all sorts of things that can block, and then it asks on each and every one of them. Then it takes the entire amud. Right, so Meisvei, the Gemara is asking a kasha. Asavin, grass, shatilshon, that was detached, v'nichem b'chalayin, and you put it in the window. Again, we're talking about where there's tumah in one room, and we want to see if the tumah is going to be blocked from going into another room. So there's a tefach opening. So now this Bryce is going to go through a whole slew of different items that could be stuffed into that hole and say that it's going to block the tumah. So grass that was detached and put in the window. Or if grass grew in the window. See, being in the country, I can understand that grass grows. We got grass growing in our windows. It actually makes total sense, right? So for those city folk, I don't know if they're used to grass going in their windows. Umatloinias, she'ein behen shalish shalish, and pieces of clothing that don't have three fingers by 3 fingers, meaning they're tiny, right? Because they're not makabel tumah. Va'aver, and aver is, this is an interesting one. Va'aver va'basar mutudolin b'behema u'b'chaya. A limb or a piece of meat, a piece of skin or flesh that's hanging off an animal or a chaya. And I guess that animal and chaya, which the Gemara is going to ask about, is just hanging out in this window, right? Va'ayif sheshachem b'chalayin, or a bird that's in a window. Va'ayif kacham sheyosha b'chalayin, or a guy that's sitting in the window. Meaning all these examples, they're blocking the opening from one room to the other room, right? So a guy, uben shmaina hamunach b'chalayin, and you have a baby 8 months old. So we know that a baby is 8 months old in the Gemara's times is not viable. So since it was not viable, right? So then, all right. So since it wasn't viable, it's considered like it's dead, right? Va'melach and salt, the kli earthenware, sefer Torah, kula mematin b'chaloin. All of these things will reduce the window and the meaning the opening between the two walls, and therefore it is not going to it's not going to spread the tumor from one room to the other room, right? And because again, all these things are not makabel tumah, right? A guy is not makabel tumah. Right? They made a gezeira on some guy not makabel tumah, but a guy is not makabel tumah, and a baby is not makabel tumah because it's not even look like it as a person if it's an 8-month baby. Right? Okay, etc. So we'll see in the Gemara. Aval hasheleg, but snow, barad is hail, glid is ice, vakofar, it's also a type of ice, frost, ice, mayim, water, kulon, ein mamayit in mechalain. Those are not mamayit in the chalain. Why? Because they melt. Since they melt, it's as if it's not there. Right?
Why
Okay,
do
so
you say
that's
the same thing by a human being? Since he moves, it's as if he's not there.
Yeah, so the Gemara is going to ask that.
Huh.
I mean, I think, yeah.
When you said 8 months, that means it was during his gestation of 8 months, not
Correct.
at 8 months old. It's gestation of
Right,
8
an 8 months.
months.
Right.
So,
It was an 8 month from an 8-month pregnancy is not considered viable. Yes, thank you.
it's 7 is and 9 is, yeah.
7 and 9, yes. 8 not. Which, by the way, the Metzias nowadays has changed, and we don't go with that anymore. But we'll see in the Gemara. Now the Gemara analyzes all these cases. Why don't we say that the grass he can feed his animals, so maybe he'll take it out. Again, we're assuming that you're going to keep these things in there forever, right? So the Gemara says, okay, asav and chazal behemtoi, the grass is fitting for a behema. So you say ba'avar asasa, it's talking about a grass that's poisonous, right? Okay, so Aisha also me'elan, Aisha alu me'elan, or the grass that goes by itself, even the kashu l'kaisel shakale. It's obviously not good and not healthy for a wall to have grass coming out of it, right? So guys, we're going to assume the guy takes away the grass. So Amarava, but Kaisel Churva, we're talking about a Kaisel that's already destroyed. So Mela, nobody's going to pick the grass. Papa Amar Afilu B'Kaisel Yishuv. It's even talking about a Kaisel of a Yishuv. B'Bayin Chutz L'Shoisha L'Chaloyin. It's talking about where the grass is growing from 3 tvachim away from the wall. Right? So since it's more than 3 tvachim away, like we learned in yesterday's daf and the day before's daf, more than 3 tvachim away is not going to damage the wall, even though lamaisa it's growing. It seems like from this, it's the base of the growing that's the problem. Where it grows is the problem. Okay, matlani is chazule lakriya to levusha. Why don't we say that these little pieces of cloth that are less than 3 fingers by 3 fingers, even though they're not makabel tumah, but maybe somebody's going to take them out of the wall because he is going to he's how do you say it? He's going to use it as a patch to patch clothing. So we say besmichta, somewhere where it's very thick, it's too thick to use as a patch. So when it says chazula umna, it might be used for an uman, meaning if somebody uses bloodletting, he's going to use it as a like a cotton, what do you call it? A bandage. I don't know if it was a bandage. I thought, either bandage or like a swab. Yeah.
Gauze pad.
Gauze. There you go. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So we say Beriska was talking about where it was rough. It was too rough to use as a gauze. Okay, so when I ask Iberiska Shem ben Shalosh Shalosh, so then if it's Riska, why do you have to say it doesn't have 3 by 3? Shem ben Arba al Arba mibayle. Even 4 by 4 tfachim, because sackcloth, the shear for tumah for that, and for clothing, the shear tumah is 3 fingers by 3 fingers. The minimum shear tumah for sackcloth is 4 tvachim by 4 tvachim. So he says ke'ein riska. It doesn't mean that it was actually sackcloth. It's similar to sackcloth. So the Gemara says, okay, what about an animal whose limb or flesh is hanging off? Right? Arkava azla. You're going to assume that animal is going to stay in the hole in between one room and the other rooms in order to keep the tumah in there. That animal is going to run away. So we say, bikshura. It's talking about where it's tied up. So Gemara says, okay, shachid le, but he's going to shecht it. So b'tameya, we say it's talking about a tamei animal. Mazmelo lenachri, he's going to sell it to a guy. So you say b'chusha, it's talking about where the animal is already decayed. Nobody's going to buy it. So pasik, shadi le'leklavim, good. So maybe the guy's going to cut up and give it to the dogs. No, the Gemara says kivadi tzar b'lechaim. That's tzar b'lechaim to cut up and give it to the dogs. So lo yavid, he wouldn't do it. Right?
That's more tzar b'lechaim than tying it to a window and keeping it there to bleed to death.
Yes, there's a lot of diyukim you can make from this tzar b'lechaim answer.
Isn't
right?
When you tie it to the window, though, don't you have some sort of use for it? So if you're just throwing to the dogs, then you just.
Well, isn't that also? But that's also use, isn't it?
I thought throwing to the dogs is like getting rid of it, not necessarily feeding your animals.
I thought it was Sar Balachayv to the dog to give him junky food.
No, I think the Rimigash says that it's Sar Balachayim because anytime you don't have any benefit from the animal, it's Isser Sar Balachayim.
Right. So you have to. There's a
figure
lot
out.
of yeah. Right. What's considered normal? What's not considered normal? If it's a normal use, then it's not Tzar B'Alechaim. If it's an abnormal use, then it is Tzar B'Alechaim. Right. That's what it seems. That's what it seems from this Gemara. Look at the Taisus. The Taisus even think it's Tzar B'Alechaim. The Taisus in the says V'im Timer Kula Be'im Ashaka V'Shadi L'Klavim. Right. Taisus says Yesh Lamer D'Mayri B'Kaif. It's talking about a monkey. Right? Which means that that's really not normally sent out to a dog. Right? So I don't know. Okay, whatever. Point is, it seems like we can be medayik from here that it's considered, if it's an abnormal use, it's not. It's tzar b'alei. Okay.
Why isn't the fact that it's a behemoth itself a problem? I mean, eventually it's going to die, and it's going to be tmeya. It's going to actually be tummy.
Right.
Since now it's alive, it's not a problem, even though in the future it will be.
It's going to be an avela, you're saying?
It's going to be a dead behemoth tmeya, which is tummy.
Right.
No, but the point is, a behemoth tamei, you're not going to take it and use it for your own use, right?
No, I'm saying no. What it's
When
asking is
dead,
that
it
it
won't
said
be
eventually
chayshit.
it's gonna. So good. I guess you'll have to deal with it when it comes to it.
But the behemoth tamei is Toma right?
Yeah.
No, but isn't the
But-
issue here whether the guy's going to take it off the wall, not Toma Tahara?
Yeah, that's the issue now. But Gershon's saying
Right.
eventually the issues. I mean, this is just a temporary block. That's what Gershon is saying. I think that's what Gershon is saying.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I'm asking if the temporary block, because a person will use it for something, is not considered a block. Why is any temporary block considered a block? If anything, this should be worse.
Aren't we only talking about temporary things? Because how long is this mace going to be over there to be metama from one place to the other?
That's
So
also how
we-
Tosfos talks about how long your mavatal for. It has to be la'olam, has to be for a couple days, whatever. That's the only question.
Right. But right now the Gemara is just even saying that temporary. We have to be chashed at any second somebody's going to pull it out of there. Right.
So as
Right,
long
and
as
the
we're not
Rishonim say
making-
if we're afraid that somebody's going to take it out, that means it's considered like it's not even here right now.
Right. You know what this gets into in the practical? This gets into a woman who has temporary fillings in her teeth to go to the mikveh. Right? If they're going to eventually take it out, then it's a problem. If they're going to eventually replace it, then many parts can say that's fine, even though it's going to be a different thing, but it's going to be taken out, but it's going to be immediately replaced. Right? But if a taka was only temporary, then we look at it like it's a chatzitza because it doesn't belong there. Right? Braces and fillings, if you're not from Brisk, you're fine. Right? They go to mikveh with that. Right? But anyways, okay. Let's see weiter. You have a bird in the window, right? Parach v'azel, it's gonna fly away. The kosher again, it's not where it was tied up. Shachid lehi might shecht it, so we say v'tamei. Mazmalei lenochri, maybe he'll sell it to a guy. Beklanisa, it's a shvacha bird. It's a thin bird. Nobody's gonna, sort of like what the chicken looks like in camp, right? I'm saying it's very thin. Nobody's buying it, right? So the Gemara says, Yov Yanuka. They might give it to a kid to play with. So we say, Misarit, it scratches. It's too wild. So Gemara says, Klanisa, the loy Misarta, but a Klanisa doesn't scratch. Whatever type of bird. It's thin, but it doesn't scratch. So how can you say that it's a Klanisa bird and it also scratches? So it says, Kain Klanisa is not exactly a Klanisa bird, it's like a Klanisa. So there's a lot that we learn out from there too, because from here it's mashma that there's such a thing as giving a bird to a kid to play with, right? In which case, birds should not be muksa on Shabbos because it's a toy.
Are we
Right?
talking about live or psik ratio?
I'm not sure. Are we talking about it? It sounds like the bird is
I
alive.
was gonna say secretion comes up to mind right away.
That's part of the sugya too. This is the literal psik ratio, right? But no, the point is that's a big toll. Our pets muksa nowadays. I get the shaila every week. I'm watching my friend's pet. Toma is it not? Is it Toma? Is not Toma? Is a muksa? Not muksa? From here it's mashma. To me, I don't know. To me, it's
Well,
mashma.
you
It's
Yeah,
say,
alive.
you're
isn't
saying
it a Tosfos
nowadays, you mean
Shabbos?
it's different nowadays?
I get
Nowadays,
it.
yes.
I get it every week. I got all these
'Cause-
animals over here. By me, it's not muksa, but by every chassid comes by, it's muksa. I gotta tell them the animal's muksa by there. You know?
Well,
Yeah,
it's
but
muksa
didn't we learn?
but if you have to take care of them, so it's a different story.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Didn't we learn a Tosfos that says it's that it's what's it called? It's
What's it?
mukta for other people. It's a Tosfos in Shabbos, no?
Yeah, it's we paskin that of Bali
I'm
Chaim
saying I
Muksa.
don't know what they do with this Gemara, but Taisa says off and art that it's
Yeah. We paskin Bali Chaim is Muksa. The only thing is there I forgot who Beis Yitzchak. I know somebody says that nowadays it's used as pets. That's then
I
back
think if
then.
Shlomo Zalman says like it's Keilu you're miyachid it every single Shabbos because it's your pet and you have to take care of it. I think there's some sort of swear like that.
He brings it in, I think, in a footnote in the Shmir Shabbos Kol Chassid. They bring it.
Yeah,
That there
yeah.
are shittas that say that, but the Shulchan Aruch Harav does not like it. The Paiskim don't like it. The Maisa is there what to be Saimach on? Pashtus is what to be Saimach on. Right? Anyways. Okay, but in this Gemara is mashma that way. Fine.
The Tyson's that you quoted before is mashma like that too. There's two different kinds of animal. He says kaish
True.
because that's letule. It's not a regular behemoth.
Right. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. Okay, so let's see weiter. You have a guy sitting in a window, so he's plugging up the hole. He's going to get up and leave. Says Bakafas, he's tied up. Right? His friend is going to come. His friend is going to come. What's so funny, Rachamim?
The next, we're gonna check them.
Oh,
We're gonna check them.
that
Let's go.
that wasn't an option. There wasn't an option on this one.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways,
Rachmi, you want to
Asi-
mute?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I gotta find the dot.
I mean, he's
The
pretty
pin thing,
comfortable
whatever.
just laughing for a couple of minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
shucks. Where's the button over here?
You don't have to unmute it if you stop laughing. It's good. Anyways, so Asi Chavri Sharile, his friend is gonna come on time. So he's even Mitzvah, somewhere where the guy has tzaras. So okay, Asi Mitzvah Chavri Sharile. So another guy with tzaras is gonna come. Ella. So again, Ella we know changes all the terutzim. Say Ella B'chvuche Malchus. It's somewhere where the guy was tied up from the government.
They're talking about his friend who's a guy. I didn't understand this.
Taras is
Gemara.
contagious.
See, well, I don't know if it's contagious or not, but certainly I could hear people thinking that it's contagious. Yes.
And this talking about a guy or yet? I didn't think Taras applied to non-Jews, but I
No,
don't know.
I don't think it means taras. I don't think it means
means
taras,
leprosy,
but
not
halachic
taras.
definition, it means he
Yeah.
has a skin disease. I thought it was someone a guy to a guy.
He has COVID, so he's not coming near.
Yeah, right, something like that. Yeah. Fine. So it says v'chein. Okay, so we say so. Then we change it and we say it's talking about a guy from the Malchus that are going to be scared. Okay, uben shmayna amunach b'chaloin. So an 8-month-old, an 8, like Rachamim said, an 8. How do you call it? From the gestation, an 8-month gestation, right? Asi medarule, but his mother's going to come take it away. So we say it's talking about Shabbos. Titania ben Shmaina hareu ke'evan v'asal tadla b'Shabbos. A baby from an 8-month gestation is muksa because it's considered dead, right? It's also to move that baby on Shabbos. But what the mother can do, because she needs to express the milk from her, otherwise it's painful, maybe dangerous. So she's allowed to bend herself over the baby and nurse the baby.
Well, you don't even get to try to save the baby?
It's not. Baby could be alive and well right now. It's assumed it's not going to be viable. Yes.
If the baby's fine, you still can't pick up the baby and feed the baby?
Correct.
It doesn't apply nowadays.
I heard what they're called.
Okay,
I'm just
okay,
trying
well,
to, you have a,
I think it's
Yeah.
halachically dead, like a treifa. Like if you kill a treifa, you're putter because the guy's
It's very
halachically
hard to
dead.
understand, Naftali, but that's the din.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's considered. It's not alive.
and on Tuesday you feed the baby. Just on Shabbos you can't pick up the baby and feed it.
Because it's muksa. Yes.
It's Schrodinger's baby. It's not dead, not alive.
See, that's the thing, Gershon. See here, this also is.
Okay.
But what about Motzei Shabbos? Meaning, it seems like it's a very, like Ben was saying, it's a very small I would say window, but no pun intended. It's a very small window of time that we're dealing with here.
Taisus Bavar's that child.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, but it's
No, he's saying that
It's-
it's not gonna. You're not gonna move it. So therefore, your question of Matzi Shabbos doesn't apply.
what do you mean? What do you mean? That Taisus is saying that it's on a temporary basis, right?
No, he's saying that it's gonna be there forever. Therefore, you're not gonna move it. The Shomte Kurasa means you're not moving, and the Bavar's that
Yeah,
problem.
because he says it's talking about a goisis, Taisus.
He's
Right.
saying it's there now.
Adam,
It's
he
gonna
was
be
referring
there
to
now,
Adam
and it will
Taisus.
be there Matzi Shabbos.
It's gonna be dead.
And it's going to stay there because Shomte Kvarasa. Therefore, you don't have to worry about it moving.
Right, but let's say it's an 8-month-old that Taisus, that's why Taisus is saying it, but let's say it wasn't what Taisus is saying, then what's the din?
The Chayra, it would be Tame. There'd be a Din Toma.
The Chayra, right? Because you're gonna move in Matzah
Yeah.
Shabbos.
Right.
So then that severely limits, then Gershon's Kasha comes back.
See, Yaakov,
Right.
every one of these cases is very limited.
Yeah,
Every one of these cases, you tied the person down. We're talking about a very unique case in every single one of these cases. Okay, so this one's a little more unique.
No, if I would answer the kasha and say that the whole issue is that it might be moved now, so long as there's no chashash that it might be moved right now within the next 3 seconds, then it's chaytzitz. As soon as it comes up that it might be moved within the next 5 seconds, it's not chaytzitz. But for now, it's chaytzitz. There's no
Right.
chashash that's going to be moved. The Taisus is saying not like that. Taisus
Right.
is saying it has to be forever, which is back to a kasha on the rest of it.
I think it's Tosis Oshitosu because the top Tosis says that you need a bittul la'olam, I believe. I think the Rambam holds it's enough maybe to mevatel it for a day or two. I mean that's what it comes. I think that would be the shaila.
But right. So that is the whole sugi. I mean, that's not the whole sugi, but that's part of this whole sugi, which is what's the time frame, right? What is the time frame here? Yeah. Okay. Let's go weiter. Melach, I'm sorry, salt, chazile. So somebody's gonna need some salt for his cholent, so he's gonna take the salt. And Marisa, it's about bitter salt. Okay, chazila iris. He'll use it for tanning. This bekoitzi, it has what do you call it? Thorns in it, and nobody's gonna use the salt because the thorns are gonna cut your hands. So when it says kivin the kasha lekaisel shakya, well, salt is gonna ruin it ruins the walls, right? We know that salt potholes. For those of us in New York, right? Potholes come from salt. Well, part of So it says the yasper chaspa, somewhere where the salt was sitting on earthenware. So maybe it's not ruining the wall. Okay, chaspa gufa techutz. So why don't we say that the chaspa itself is a chatzitza on Tamid Beis? The lespa shiura. There's no shear. There wasn't enough earthenware there to make it as a separation. Kedetanan, cheres kedei litain ben patzim lechaverik. Cheres, right? When you patzim is basically when you have wood piled up on top of each other, so you don't want the wood gets warped if you just put the wood straight on top. You have to leave a little bit of space in between. So that's the shear of earthenware for Haitzah on Shabbos, right? Okay, then what says kli cheres chazile? Right, so kli cheres, he's going to use it, meaning it's chazile. He needs a pot. So it says the mitnav, it's somewhere where it was dirty, right? Chazile umna. So we say, okay, then they'll use it for a bloodletter. The minka, there's a hole in it. So when I say for Torah chazile mikra, Sefer Torah, what the Sefer Torah is using it is being blocked too. Oh, you might need to learn. So you say, but Balo, it's some Sefer Torah that's decayed. Okay, but by Geniza, you have to do Geniza. Shamte Geniza. That's where the Geniza is going to be, which brings up a very interesting thing. Geniza does not mean, we assume Geniza means Shemus, means it has to be buried in the ground. That is not a lichatchila. Most Shemus should not really lichatchila be buried in the ground. Like something called the Cairo Geniza. I'm sure everybody heard of it. Right? With the Geniza, Cairo was not found underground; it was found in an attic. right? You're supposed to put it away in an attic. That's the proper way to do a geniza. If you're gonna bury a Sefer Torah, you got to put it near a Talmud Chacham, and you got to bury it in earthenware, etc., etc. Right? But that's what it's saying. The geniza here is you stuck it in a wall and you leave it there.
The conservative shul I grew up at, every 7 years, they picked a boy from the Hebrew school, and it was my year when I was bar mitzvah, that they'd literally lower you into a hole in the ground on the property that was cinder blocked, and there were Sifrei Torah and Chumashim and Svarim and tefillin all over. It was literally an underground cement bunker.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I hear. Wow. I don't know why.
I think in Ner Yisrael also they have a whole section in their big property. It's not underground. It's just a big pile of thousands of papers of the Torah and photocopies, everything.
Really? Very interesting. I never heard that. Okay, very good. Fine. So then the Gemara says, V'amar Rav, right? It's debatable whether it should be Garas V'amar or not. Yeah, so Bakal Eisen Mechitza, Chutz Mi Melech V'Revev. You can make a Mechitza, in other words, for Shabbos, we need a Mechitza for a Eruv Chatzera, not Eruv for a Chatzah or for a Mavoi. So you can make a Mechitza out of anything, and also for Tumah, except from salt. And Revev is fats, because they're going to disappear. Shmuel Amar Afilu Melach. Shmuel says you can even use it for salt. Amar Apav Pligi Haba Melach Staimis. One is talking about Sadaim salt. Rashi says it's thick and strong like a stone. And Haba Melach Istroiknis. And one is talking about Istroiknis salt, which is loose. Fine. A person can take 2 piles of salt, put a beam on top of those 2 piles. The salt is holding up the kaira, and the kaira is going to make sure the melech doesn't go anywhere because it's applying pressure. So then you can even have istroikinus salt, and there's no machlokes. One is somewhere where there's a beam which will hold the salt in place, and hadelega kaira, one is somewhere where there is no beam, so it will not hold the salt in place. It's no stira, or not a stira, but there's no machlokes. Fine. Then we say marchikinas arechaim gimel min shechev shein arba min arechav. So you distance it's a rechaim, a mill, 3 from the shechev, from the bottom, which is 4 from the top, meaning because a mill has 2 stones, the bottom stone and the top stone. My time, what's the reason? Mishum tirya. The reason that you need to keep your mill or your grinder 3 tvachim away from a wall is because it's going to shake the floor and ruin and weaken the wall. A chamor, because you could use a chamor to go around the mill, and that's not going to make how do you call it? It's not going to shake the ground. Chain arba min akelis, which is 4 from the kelis, is the part that you put the stuff into. So hasa my terika, why do you need a space over there? There's no shaking. Ela mashum kala must be because of the noise. Noise can cause the wall to get damaged. Okay, so we say vesatano shloisha min akilya shehin arba min asafa. Right, it's 3 from the kilya, right, which is the from the bottom part, which is 4 from the top. So Rabaya Shmamino kilya the tanur tefach. So we learn out from this that the base goes out a tefach, right? Nafkamino, what's the difference? For buying and for selling, for business, right? Meaning, if somebody buys one of these kilyas from somebody, the proper measurement is 1 tefach. It should be 1 tefach wider on the bottom than the top, right? And if it's not, he could say it's a mekach tois, because that's the proper way to do it. Okay, we'll go weiter. So Zog the Mishnah. This mission we had a couple times. A person cannot put an oven in his house. He has to have at least 4 amas of space in between where his oven stops and the roof, because otherwise it's a fire hazard. And let's say you're putting the oven on the second floor. So you need to put under it a maziva, a floor that is 3 tvachim. Ubekira tefach. And for a kira, it needs to be only a tefach, because a kira is smaller than a tanner. And if it did damage, let's say you did all these precautions, you listened to the fire code, and it damaged, Mishali Mashizik, he pays what it damaged. Shimon says the opposite. He says the reason why he gave these shiurim is if you do these shiurim, then if it damages, it's going to be potter from paying. Fine. Then it says a person should not open. You can't open a bakery or a dyeing place, meaning where you're going to dye clothing and the like. You can't bake a bakery or a place that dyes things under the storage house of a friend. V'loy refes bakar, and not a barn either. Right? So be'emes, but the truth is, which we know that that's really the halacha. B'yayin etiru, with wine they were materit because smoke from the bakery is not going to affect the wine, and neither will the dye, the smell from the dye. But avaloy refes bakar, but a refes bakar will ruin the storage house. Right? Okay, so that's basically the dinim. The dinim of the Mishnah, again, a tanner has to be, you have to make sure you have fire hazards, and we have machlokes tanoim, whether if you did all the precautions and then it still does damage if you're chayiv or you're not, right? And then you should not be opening a bakery or a dyeing place under somebody's storage house. But for wine, it's really not a problem. Okay, so when I asked Vatani B'Taner Arba Ubekira Shloisha, we said for a Taner it's 4 tvachim, and a kira it's 3 tvachim, right? And our Mishnah only says 3 tvachim. So Rabbi Kitani Ibn Nachtumen, that's talking about for a baker. The Taner di done ki kira de Nachtumen. Our Taner is like a kira from a Nachtum, meaning a Nachtum has got his things are much hotter, right? Obviously, he's a baker, so he's using it a lot. So therefore, our Taner, which is normally larger, is like his small oven. So basically, it has the same din. So he said, you should not open a store, meaning a bakery. Tana im haisa refes kodemes la'itzer mutter. But if, let's say, the refes is, meaning the barn was there before the guy made a storage house, meaning let's say you have the first floor and your first floor is a barn, and then there's a second floor, and a guy decides that he's going to make it as a storage house. He does not have any rights to make use, close up your barn. You were there first. All right, so then that's fine. So then, the Gemara has a bunch of kashas, shilas. Kivit v'rivetz la'itzer ma'o. Let's say the guy swept and he poured water to make sure that he started settling the itzer. Right? So what's the din? And what happens if he started making a lot of windows? So clearly he's making it as an itzer, but he didn't actually start using it as an itzer. And now the downstairs guy used it made it into a barn. So then what's the din? Achsadra tachas itzer ma'u. Let's say he made an achsadra under the itzer. What's the din? So, meaning it sounds like you have an itzer, then you have an achsadra, like an empty room, and then under that you have the barn. So it's really 2 stories up. Is the smell so strong that it could actually go 2 stories up? And the next shayla is similar. Let's say he built another floor on top of his house and made that into an itzer. So now what's the din? So we say teiku, right? We don't know the answer. What about dates and pomegranates? We said that oil will work. Not oil, I'm sorry. Wine is okay, right? But we said everything else, grain and those type of things, is going to be a problem. What about pomegranates and dates? So we say tekel, we don't know if it'll be negatively affected or not. Right? Fine. So we said really wine would be okay. Wine is mutter because it makes it better. But not a refes bakar because it'll make it decay. Right? So Omar Rav Yosef, meaning it's gonna make the wine get bad. So Omar Rav Yosef, Haidi done afilu kutra desharganami kashli. Our wine, even smoke coming from one candle will damage our wine. So again, you see the Metzias changed. So Amar Rav Sheshes aspasa, which is some sort of animal food type vegetable thing, karefas bakar damia, that will also make, it's like a refes bakar, and that will also cause damage to somebody's oitza. Okay, we'll stop over there. Relatively easy daf for a late night.